The holidays come with a touch of craziness, from unwrapping the latest storylines to the best betting insights. We've got everything you need to crank up the excitement this season. We can't promise there won't be a little yelling.
Play a decent schedule. They have maybe 500.
Got it. Oh, they just ruined my day.
But we can guarantee a whole lot of fun. Merry Christmas from all of us at SportsGrid.
I mean, this is week 16, and you're throwing this guy in the fire. I know the Giants suck, Scotty, but you got that backdrop. Just give it to Bijan 50 times if Penix isn't looking too well.
And I also think Penn State has an easy track. And I think, to be honest with you, Indiana, people are all going to say they should have never been there. And listen, I just wanted to say one last time before that happens that you can all kiss my ass.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
And you're not riding with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Where have you gone? Don't tell me it's the Philadelphia Eagles, Donnie. Who's the team for you?
You see that Vince Lombardi trophy that sits back here? That's a replica. And that's something that the Philadelphia Eagles have won as recent as 2017. The Buffalo Bills are notorious for making it to the Super Bowl and coming up lame, which they might be able to do. But my question is, can the Buffalo Bills even get to the Super Bowl?
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
You don't want them to go 13-0 and then lose the first round of the playoffs.
Red.
This is their last shot. They don't really have anywhere else to go yet.
Hot take.
By the time I hit, I guess what, Route 33 up here, that ticket's cashing.
Only on SportsGrid.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. History will be made tonight. The college football playoff 12-team edition begins. Great to be with you here on another edition of the show. We got Sam McQuillan in the house from Legal Sports Report. Also to preview all of the action in college football, we've got Bill Bender in the house. Massive games tomorrow in both college and pro football. So stick around with us for the full hour of this Friday edition of the show. And if you caught Thursday Night Football, my gosh, we have turned the corner a little bit. A lot of these Thursday Night Football games have turned out to be pretty good and high scoring. Indeed, the case last night, the Denver Broncos took an early lead against the Los Angeles Chargers, but LA stormed back not only to win, but to cover the spread. So they bounced back after that very poor performance against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The final 34-27 in this one. Good games all around. Really, I would say spread around in terms of offense for the Chargers, and Justin Herbert, who was able to find a connection with several of his wide receivers. Gus Edwards also got in the end zone as well. Jim Harbaugh happy with the effort. The only complaint he had after the game was basically saying it's really hard to pinpoint one or two players that played well. It was a real team effort.
Just so many great plays. I mean, I mean, it must have been tough for the Thursday night crew to, pick out somebody, to who did they actually pick out to go on the set after the game? I don't know either. I mean, that would have been a tough one. They would have, probably said, hey, we need who do you need? I mean, it's 10 guys, 15 guys you could have picked from, and they'd be saying, well, pick one. Who? Which one? Flip a coin. It was just so many guys. Justin, Derwin, Joey, K-Mac, opportunity squad guys. Kendall Williamson, coming out and having a responding, and Tony, I can't even think of some of the Boodle, DiCaprio Boodle, one of the great names in football. But so many guys, just resilient, stayed the course. And that was all our players. That was all our guys. And, just how about those Chargers,
Chargers playoff percentage goes up. Denver Broncos playoff percentage goes down. All Denver really needed to do to clinch a playoff spot was win this game, and they had a lead. That's why it was supremely disappointing to not capture the victory, says head coach Sean Payton.
Obviously, look, a disappointing loss. It was disappointing because there was a lot at stake, and we know that. We had a fast start, was encouraged by that. And then uncharacteristically this season, we didn't finish or play nearly well enough in the second half, both offensively and defensively. Time of possession, the third down numbers, our rushing numbers fell off in the second half. Credit Los Angeles for fighting their way back in, and we didn't make enough plays in the end. So,
well, the good thing is my role is going to be pretty simple because everybody in that locker room, every guy wants to already play next week. I think at this point, we're all competitively frustrated, and I think we're excited for this opportunity. We know this next one's the most important, and we just want to, I think, go out next week and not feel this way again.
I think right now the Broncos are probably up against it going forward. Absolutely need to win their game coming up next week. Meanwhile, the Georgia Bulldogs not going to have their starting quarterback for the college football playoff. Carson Beck appears to be out, and he's going to miss some time, so they're going to have to go to their backup. Beck had a up and down season, best to say, with the Georgia Bulldogs. We'll see what this means moving forward for him. Naturally, Georgia heavily favored in all of their matchups this season and ended up winning the SEC championship against Texas. By the way, the Longhorns do play tomorrow. We'll have a preview of that game as well. All right, an apology almost 20 years in the making happened yesterday. Sammy Sosa, remember him? Former player with the Cubs and the Orioles, Texas Rangers. Sammy Sosa has been ostracized from the Chicago Cubs for many years because their ownership group feels he was not upfront about potential steroid use. That came to an end yesterday. Took forever. Sosa releasing a statement saying there were times where I did whatever I could to recover from injuries, to recover to keep on my strength and perform over 162 games. I never broke any laws, but in hindsight, I made mistakes and I apologize. So the owner of the Chicago Cubs has now accepted the apology, and Sosa is expected to now return to doing things with the Chicago Cubs franchise, which he has not for almost 20 years. Sosa, of course, and Mark McGwire fought in that 1998 home run race, with McGwire winning. And remember, Mark McGwire, shortly after, several years later, actually apologized for steroid use. Sosa did not, but I guess he kind of did yesterday, if that's what it looks like there. All right, Patrick Mahomes, he's going to start against the Houston Texans. Saturday football, not just for the college, but also for pro, he's going to play. TJ Watt expected to play against the Baltimore Ravens in their showdown also tomorrow. George Pickens not going to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Meanwhile, some good news for the Lions. David Montgomery, who has not been placed on injured reserve, looks like he could potentially play, maybe in a Super Bowl situation or maybe even NFC Championship. We will see. And also, if David Carr is out, then it looks like Alvin Kamara is going to also be out as well. Spencer Rattler will end up starting this week. Did I say David Carr? I meant Derek Carr. All right, Indiana, Notre Dame tonight, 51.5 is the total. Fighting Irish, 7.5-point favorites in this one. Gonna be cold. It's snowing right now in South Bend. The fans are lining up to go to the college. This is the most expensive ticket of all the college football games, by the way. Notre Dame, you see some 7, but mostly 7.5-point favorites tonight to advance. Also, another bowl game. It's the Cure Bowl coming up in, 12 o'clock Eastern. We're almost on the air for a bowl game. That's pretty cool. Ohio now up to 5.5-point favorites against Jacksonville State. And the Gasparilla Bowl, 3 o'clock Eastern. Surprise, the Florida Gators got in a bowl game after a really tough start to their season. They are down to 10.5-point favorites. They opened up as 12 against Tulane. In college football last night in the New Orleans Bowl, a pretty big upset. Sam Houston State, who was 6.5-point underdogs to open up in terms of the line, went down to 3.5. They end up winning the game outright. So congrats to them. They beat Georgia Southern, who was slight favorites in this one. As I mentioned, they did open up as almost a touchdown favorite. Isaiah Bond not going to play, it looks like, for Texas, the great wide receiver for them. He got hurt in the SEC championship game as Texas gets ready to roll tomorrow. And Duke transfer at quarterback Malik Murphy, he ends up going to Oregon State. He made that official yesterday. 9-3 as a starter last year. Purdue's Will Helt becomes the first defender to transfer to Clemson under Dabo Swinney. Swinney has been against the NILs and against the transfer portal for the last few years, but he finally has relented to take a player. West Virginia's quarterback Garrett Green is going to enter the NFL draft, but he's going in, interestingly enough, as a wide receiver. So we'll see how his career ends up following there. And Oregon has released wide receiver Dallas Wilson. He's going to join the Florida Gators top 10 recruits, so the Gators get a little bit of a bonus there. In the NBA last night, big win for the New York Knicks. Karl Anthony Towns, 32 points, 20 rebounds, 6 assists. He went back to Minnesota and won pretty handily. The Knicks win 133-107 in that matchup. Meanwhile, the Warriors end up getting crushed by the Memphis Grizzlies. What do I mean? 144-93, just 2 points for Steph Curry, one of the worst games of his NBA career. In overtime, the Spurs beat the Hawks 133-126, and the National Basketball Hall of Fame has announced that Carmelo Anthony and Dwight Howard are among the first-time candidates to get inducted in Springfield this year. Tonight in the NBA, the Hornets 10.5-point road underdogs in Philadelphia. We don't know if Joel Embiid is going to play. Generally, that's the way it's been every game of the season. Donovan Mitchell at the Cavs, 9-point home favorites against the Milwaukee Bucks. And a really good game tonight here in South Florida as the Oklahoma City Thunder will travel to Miami to take on the Heat. That's what we got for you here on the show. But guess what? We got a lot more coming up next. SMU and Penn State. Feels like that game is flying under the radar a little bit. We'll get a prediction from Bill Bender and also preview the Clemson-Texas matchup, and also Tennessee-Ohio State. 2 NFL games tomorrow and 3 college football playoff games tomorrow. Can you keep up with it all? We're going to help you do it next here on NewsWire. Don't go away.
There's a better chance the Raiders might stumble into a win because of who they're playing over the next few weeks than the Giants, who I don't think will win.
I don't believe for 1 minute that they want to win a game. I do not believe that the New York Football Giants want to win a game at all, because it will cost them dearly. In fact, they will continue to suck for years to come if they screw this up.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Kannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Notre Dame, Indiana tonight. We'll have coverage of it, of course, here on In Game Live and Pharrell Coast to Coast. And then tomorrow, all day long, college football action. We got Bill Bender from Sporting News. He's going to be in the house watching Tennessee and Ohio State. I have a strange feeling, Bill, that you and I are going to be talking next week about one of the big upsets in the college football playoff. I don't know which one. I cannot imagine this is going all chalk. And I cannot imagine that the odds makers are getting all 3 games of these right. -8.5, -11.5, -7.5. And I understand it's because these teams have to travel and go into the home field of their opponent. But if history has told us anything about sports, Bill, expect the unexpected. That would be my guess this weekend.
Right, and we need that in this playoff. We need some of that Cinderella wand, magic wand that you get in the March Madness basketball tournament. Without that, otherwise, if all of these games play out with the spread, and I believe all of them are 7 points or more, then I think there's going to be some pushback as to what we're doing. I don't want to watch 4 blowouts this weekend. I want to watch a close game tonight between Notre Dame and Indiana. I kind of hope the Hoosiers cover. And going into the evening game tomorrow, Tennessee, Ohio State, I hope it's competitive. I hope it's a really fun game. The other two have blowout potential. I really believe that between Texas and Penn State. But like you said, we want to see close games and get this 12-team playoff off to a good start.
So let's start off with Happy Valley, where the Nittany Lions will be at home. They're 8.5-point favorites against SMU. Biggest game in SMU's football, maybe history, or going back when I guess Eric Dickerson was running back there before they lost the program for a while. And that goes before, like, I can even remember stuff there, Bill. Total 53.5 in the game. James Franklin, generally speaking, really good against any team that's not very good. And then it gets difficult. So I wonder, this doesn't seem more about Penn State to me. It seems more about who SMU is. We're going to find out.
I agree. And if I'm SMU, you have to get off to a fast start. You can't let that Beaver Stadium crowd get into the game. You know, if they get out, score on their first drive, use that tempo to push Penn State a little bit, and use a defense that, quite frankly, is a little bit underrated to stuff the run. They allow 74.7 yards per game on the ground. And if they can limit that tag team of Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, they have a chance. The narrative I keep getting with this game, Craig, is James Franklin, big game. Well, James Franklin's pretty good when they're picked to win. They've only lost one game as an underdog the last 3 years, the Peach Bowl against Ole Miss, where there were guys missing on both sides. And they're 2-1 against the spread when they're favored by 10 points or less this season. So where that spread's sitting, I think there is some blowout potential here with Penn State, with Drew Aller working the ball to Tyler Warren and that defense led by Abdul Carter. Give me the Nittany Lions by double digits.
All right, fair enough. And as you said, Franklin really good against non-top 25 opponents, but when it comes to top 25 opponents, 13-28. Yikes. All right, well, that's going into the game here. So it feels like you like another team to win big here in Texas. I think one of the more disappointing seasons this season has been Clemson. Clemson definitely snuck their way in to this matchup here, and things could have been very different if the Miami Hurricanes had finished their season better. Longhorns are 11.5-point favorites. Both teams kind of doing it on the strength of their defense. That's what sticks out to me here, Bill, a little bit. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I saw 51.5 points, and I'm just kind of wondering, like, is each team going to score 3 touchdowns in this game? I mean, Texas has been slow starting. Clemson's had tough time on offense most of the season. Who do you like in this one?
I like the under for starters, if it's that high. I think, Quinn Ewers has played well at home, 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. What to watch is, can Clemson stop Texas's running game? In their 3 losses, Georgia, Louisville, South Carolina, they allowed an average of more than 200 yards per game on the ground. If Texas can run the ball all day, it's going to be a long day for the Tigers. The thing that has me conflicted is Dabo's been here, done that. He's coached in 4 title games. He's coached in the playoffs so many times. It's not like this stage is going to bother Dabo Swinney at all. I think they're playing with house money a little bit, makes him a little bit of a dangerous underdog. I still like Texas to win by a couple touchdowns. I think their defense and their secondary is a difference maker. This is one of those games that, they beat anybody? I don't know, but they've taken care of business at home with the exception of that Georgia game.
Do you think Quinn Ewers is auditioning for someone else tonight or tomorrow?
I would be hard-pressed to believe anybody but Arch Manning starts for Texas next year. And that's interesting that you say that, because I think the focus on Quinn Ewers right now isn't lead a national championship run. Everybody's wondering, will he be a Big Ten quarterback next year? Will he go to the NFL draft? What will he do next? And that can become a distraction at a certain point. I'm sure Steve Sarkisian's tired of answering that question. But it would be wild if Quinn Ewers led a national championship run, which is entirely possible, and then transferred to somewhere, whether it was Michigan State, Ohio State, these schools that are being rumored. I don't see it happening. I don't see him starting for Texas next season. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, Bill, we've never seen this in our lifetimes where a player basically is playing for college free agency tonight. We've just never seen that. And we have seen it, but you'd have to sit out a year. Now you just get paid and go wherever you want. It's completely changed. Ohio State, Tennessee, you'll be in this one. 46.5, total 7.5. Frank, my producer sent me some information. StubHub is saying a lot of Tennessee fans are traveling to see the Buckeyes play here against the Volunteers here. I guess I'll have to see that to believe it. But Ryan Day, what pressure this guy has on this game tonight. I don't think Tennessee's necessarily playing with house money, Bill, but it certainly feels like if they get off to a good start, boy, how will the Buckeyes feel?
That first quarter is so important tomorrow night because they have to shake off this Michigan hangover on the field. Whether or not they believe they have in the locker room, and I think they do, they've got to come out and show it. Otherwise, the anxiety and anxiousness in that stadium will be palpable no matter how many people are wearing orange. Ultimately, I think Ohio State is the better team. Tennessee allowed 322 passing yards in the loss to Arkansas and the losses to Georgia combined. And Ohio State's got a fleet of NFL receivers. So if Will Howard doesn't turn the ball over, gets the ball to those guys, they play with tempo. And Nico Iamaleava, California kid playing in 20-degree weather, that's something to watch during the game. Tennessee covers, Ohio State wins.
Close game. All right, I'm going to take Georgia to win the national championship despite the backup, and I think that'll be the story there. Who do you got to win the championship?
Oregon versus Georgia, but I like the Ducks to win that game. They've been the most complete team all year. I'm sticking with it.
All right, there you go, Bill. Enjoy the game on Saturday night. We'll talk again next week. We got the sound off next. Don't go away.
There's a better chance the Raiders might stumble into a win because of who they're playing over the next few weeks than the Giants, who I don't think will win.
I don't believe for 1 minute that they want to win a game. I do not believe that the New York Football Giants want to win a game at all because it will cost them dearly. In fact, they will continue to suck for years to come if they screw this up.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun. I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Kannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We've got a lot to cover here on the SportsGrid Sound Off. The NBA has changed their All-Star format. We will hear from future Hall of Famer LeBron James on that. Also, the Bengals still alive in the playoff chase after last night's loss by the Denver Broncos. And what can we expect in this showdown between Pittsburgh and Baltimore tomorrow? Time now for the SportsGrid Sound Off. Always one of the biggest rivalry games in the National Football League. They will play it once again tomorrow. The Ravens, 5.5-point favorites against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers struggling with some injuries. It looks like TJ Watt will play. George Pickens will not. But a lot of pressure, no question, as always, on quarterback Russell Wilson. Coming off a so-so game against Philadelphia, talked to the media yesterday, basically saying that he knows what he's up against going against Baltimore. It's time to perform.
Yeah, I think the clean, fast start. Once again, it goes back. A lot of times, it goes back to fundamentals and what we're doing and how we're doing it. And just as I tell you guys, every game has a history of its own, and that's just the reality. We've done a really good job, especially in the second half, of capitalizing on opportunities. I think we got to do that throughout the game. That's always the goal. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't mean the game's over. And so I think that's the key part to the great game, and the great thing about football and the game of football is. You can start hot and not finish strong either, so you got to, throughout a game, and so I think the key part is just playing one play at a time and make that play great. And, and you're worried about this or that, and, got to do this, got to do that. No, just play this play and do this one really great. And I think that allows you to focus on the moment.
Full coverage tomorrow here, of course, on SportsGrid. The Cincinnati Bengals are in a playoff position yet again. Feels like they may take this thing right down to the last game of the season. One of the candidates, by the way, for NFL MVP, you won't get a lot of recognition for it, is Jamar Chase, having his best season ever at wide receiver. He has become a target for every opponent and every defense, whether it's hitting him hard or tackling him hard. And Chase talked about yesterday the fact that every time he's on the field, the opponents want to take him down.
Which of the AFC North teams do you feel like plays the most physical, that when you play them, the next day you're going to feel pretty sore?
Every game.
Is that like a thing though? Is it for real, like when you play the Ravens?
I feel like every game is a physical game. People try to kill me every game. I don't think it's one team that I could sit here. 49ers, they not even in our division. I'll never forget that game. My rookie year. They had us track blocking, hitting linebackers the whole game, so that was probably the most physical game I played in.
Is that a compliment? The teams go out of their way, make sure they kind of body up?
I don't know. For real, I think that's just the defense job to put us on the ground, right?
But if you're a high priority target.
Well, that's another part of their job, not to let the star player or a star player make a play on them. So same thing with the defense. Like. You got to worry about Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward, you know what I'm saying? So those are minor people that we look out for. They're looking out for us.
And Chase has had a fantastic season. And for a lot of you fantasy players, I'm guessing that he's on your playoff roster if you got that far. All right, meanwhile, the NBA has decided to change the playoff format, change the All-Star game format once again. It's now an 8-on-8 game. You'll still see your favorite players, but in another way. It's just one of the changes that the NBA is considering to spice up the game that has lost its luster for about a decade. LeBron James was asked his opinion, and if he was asked for his opinion on this new format.
Yeah, I don't really have where I'm at about it. I mean, it had to change. Something had to change. No, I did not.
Okay.
I was not part of the committee.
He said he didn't like it. I think looked into.
Everyone has their own opinion.
It's pretty unorthodox.
Yeah, I mean, it's different, in a sense. But I don't know. I don't really have we see when we get there. It's different. Obviously, anytime you make some type of change, there's going to be some buck back. I don't know. I mean, I have my ideas of what could possibly work.
It's kind of why, I'd love to get
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
But like coming out of Indiana, when you saw the reaction.
We got to do something. Obviously, the last couple of years have not been a great All-Star game that Sunday night. But I mean, listen, it's a bigger conversation. It's not just the All-Star game. It's our game in general. Our game is it's a lot of threes being shot. Mm-hmm. So it's a bigger conversation, just the All-Star game.
What do you want to see?
I can't do that today. Not in Sacramento. Sacramento, I love you guys, but you can't get you this conversation today. It's just a bigger conversation.
Yeah, I mean, the game is changing. There's 250 points being scored almost every night in the NBA. We'll take a quick time out. Sam McQuillan will join us next.
there's a better chance the Raiders might stumble into a win because of who they're playing over the next few weeks than the Giants, who I don't think will win.
I don't believe for 1 minute that they want to win a game. I do not believe that the New York Football Giants want to win a game at all, because it will cost them dearly. In fact, they will continue to suck for years to come if they screw this up.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun. I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what?
Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Kannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Sam McQuillan is with us ahead of the holidays coming up next week. Thanks to Sam for appearing on the show, courtesy of LegalSportsReport.com. Sam, great to have you back on. Let's start off here with Penn opening a new sports book, so to speak, new app. I know it's based around the Hollywood Casino. You'll have to tell us a little bit more about what that is and how it works. But for those people unfamiliar, Penn Entertainment, Penn Gaming, now part of ESPN Bet. So I'm guessing they are fronting this entire thing.
Yep, you're 100% right, Craig. Ahead of the holidays, Penn decided now was a good time to launch its standalone iGaming app, which is, an app you can play online blackjack or another kind of game on from your pocket. They launched it in Pennsylvania, and previously it had been pretty hard to actually get to any of Penn's iGaming apps. You had to go through the ESPN Bet app, which you alluded to. And then somehow there was some place in the app you would have to find it and then translate, it essentially switch you over to this new app. So if you know anything about tech, if you know anything about gambling, it's wanting to make things as frictionless as possible. This is Penn's sort of attempt to do that, is having their own separate app. A lot of sports betting is frankly all been about how do we get people to become people who play online casino, people who play online games. If you listen to any of these companies' earnings calls, what they tell investors, it's really the end game strategy for all these folks. The sports betting is great, but for a lot of them, it's not this huge cash cow. It's more of a way to funnel people over to this other form of gambling. It's a lot higher margin when you're, playing a blackjack game against the house versus betting on the spread of a college football playoff, for example. So you see Penn expand. Pennsylvania is obviously their biggest state. They have a bunch of properties there. Their name is Penn, Pennsylvania. That's where their brand is. So they've kind of taken a long time over the past year to roll out a lot of their new features. Obviously, they switched over from Barstool Sportsbook to ESPN Bet. That might have taken a little bit longer than maybe some people had hoped. We've talked about other technology developments with the app and tying it to ESPN. That's taken a little bit longer, but launching the standalone Hollywood Casino brand app is actually ahead of schedule. They were hoping to do that over the first few months of 2025. So I would say that's notable because Penn usually takes a long time. So in this circumstance, they were ahead of expectations. So we'll have to see if this is a good rollout and if they can translate it over to other states where they have their brand, like Michigan and West Virginia. But a good sign of things to come, I would say, for Penn, a company that's been, I guess, had a tough go of kind of the whole gaming experience so far as they hope to get back on track.
Yeah, not the best year for them here in 2024. We'll see if 25 brings something different. Well, there's another sports betting operator that I guess you could kind of quantify by saying slow and steady wins the race. That's how I would define the United States market with Bet365. Very popular all over the world. Here in the U.S., just sort of quietly jumping into different markets. And Sam, we found out over on LegalSportsReport.com yesterday that they are opening up shop in a new state. Which one is it?
Yeah, first of all, I would say the way you've described Bet365 strategy is it's spot on. While you've had a company like Penn try to come out here and throw dollars and try to expand in 17 states at once, Bet365 is really waited in the shadows. But the big development here is them launching in Illinois, which is one of the biggest states in the U.S. And for them, it's their biggest state that they're live in now. This is a privately owned company, which is a huge global powerhouse across the world. They have a ton of money. So it's been really interesting to see them take this slow strategy where, they first launched in Colorado a few years ago and then in New Jersey, but they really can kind of turn this on whenever they want to. And I would say Illinois, being a huge state, being a huge sports state, is a big development in kind of the slow and steady race that they've been. It'll be pretty interesting to see, what have they learned in that time that they've kind of waited to launch in a state like Illinois. This is only their 12th state, but it's the biggest one. Are they going to use this strategy of, pumping out promos and trying to get people over to your sports book? We've seen, obviously, that hasn't really worked out in terms of being able to retain customers for a lot of these other brands. In some cases, though, it can come down to, the technology they have just isn't a good experience for people.
Sure.
Bet365 has that tech that they have been using across the world. So we'll see if they can get that product in front of people. If people are then, hey, it's actually a really, a good, easy app to use, or if it has some issues here. So, they don't have some of the market constraints that a company like DraftKings has, where you have investors you have to answer to and profitability questions, or a company even like MGM, which has, other businesses that support it, not just the sports book. So I would say, this marks Bet365 really ramping things up. This is the 6th state they've launched in the past year, and they've just really ramped up things. And we'll see in 2025 if that continues to go, if they're, making a good go of it and they want to roll that forward and maybe bring some momentum even up here. So Illinois, big state for Bet365, and it'll be interesting to see how customers react.
All right, we'll find out in the future with Bet365. Now, this is really interesting because I think it's a great idea. Over at LegalSportsReport, by the way, .com, you could read about this story. So FanDuel on their app is basically giving you what I would call as soft warnings as to how much money you are wagering per day, per month, just by logging into their app. I think that's great. Sam, can they do this for my Amazon account? Because I would love to have that too. I mean, that's my struggle with ordering things on Amazon. But for FanDuel, obviously, I'm being cynical. It's a little bit more for sports bettors. Got to be careful. And I really like this idea. And I hope other apps take a cue from this, because it certainly would enlighten people as to how much money they're wagering each month.
Yeah, Craig, I'm not sure if anything can be done for your shopping addiction, but FanDuel is certainly trying to do as much as they can for people's, quote unquote, betting addiction or issues gambling, responsible gaming to address this. They launched this new tool called My Spend, which essentially helps customers track their betting habits. It's kind of unique and personalized to what everyone's doing versus just a blanket 1-800-GAMBLER number, or if you need help, click this button. It's launched across all their different products, where this dashboard that helps you see how much you've deposited over time, how much you're net winning, how much you're winning on a monthly basis, a daily basis, kind of more data where people can actually visualize, oh wow, this is really what I'm doing. Okay, I'm not just monitoring it by I'm depositing $10 every couple of weeks. It's actually going to show you how everything shakes out net. And I think it's really important because FanDuel has been kind of, along with DraftKings, has been at the forefront of using technology to get more money out of their customers, to give customers a better experience, more bets that are profitable for them. So that kind of thing, when you translate that over to responsible gaming, it's really important for an industry now that we've talked about, has been in the news. Congress is thinking about ways that they can address, advertisements or the use of AI to cater bets to customers. And, the Super Bowl is going to come up. You're going to see a ton of ads. So I would say this is FanDuel trying to get more ahead on the responsible gaming front than we've seen other companies do in the past. So it's actually really cool to see them use, we've had so much success with this technology in terms of getting money from people. How can we use that to actually help people? So they're going to have this ad campaign around this too, which I imagine we'll see more around the holidays, more around this heavy sports calendar we have coming up, where they're going to, kind of show people this tool and make it more aware. So it's not just a fancy thing you talk about and get a good press release with. So yeah, I would say 2025, you'd expect more to come along this front of other companies trying to do, these personalized, responsible gaming tools versus just, hey, make sure you gamble responsibly. And FanDuel is definitely at the forefront here.
All right. I like the idea, Sam. And again, thanks for coming on. Happy holidays to you and your family. I think we'll probably catch up after the holidays next week. Thanks again for coming on, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Craig. Happy holidays to you too. All
right, Sam McQuillan, Legal Sports Report. Everything we discussed, by the way, is available to read over at legalsportsreport.com. All right, let's take a look at one of the games tonight in college football. I'm in a college football bowl pool, which I normally do. I'm off to a great start, folks. You should be backing me, right? Just go with all of my picks. All of the picks thus far in college football, by the way, wherever the money has come on, has won through 6 games so far in the college football season. So the money in this game is on Ohio tonight. Ohio will play, and they are up to 5.5-point favorites. They opened up as 3. And that's bad news for my Gators, because the Gators opened up as 12.5-point favorites, and now they're down to 10.5. So if the trend is bucked, I'm going to lose my play tonight on the Gators, because I'm not going to go against the Gators in the bowl game. You guys crazy? We'll be back right after this with Brady Kannon.
There's a better chance the Raiders might stumble into a win because of who they're playing over the next few weeks than the Giants, who I don't think will win.
I don't believe for 1 minute that they want to win a game. I do not believe that the New York Football Giants want to win a game at all, because it will cost them dearly. In fact, they will continue to suck for years to come if they screw this up.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun. I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Kannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to the NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Brady Cannon's show is ready to roll for the weekend. His football contest show. Only a few weeks left, by the way, of the football contest show. Brady, are you guys going to continue through the playoffs, giving out picks and opinions, or are you shutting it down as soon as the regular season ends?
We are going to run 1 week after the regular season. So January 3rd, next Friday, I believe. Are we already there? No, I guess we have a couple more Fridays before that arrives. I'm losing track with the holidays and everything. January 3rd will be the final Friday of the regular season. You know, all these contests will be decided that weekend. Circus Survivor, Circus Sports Million, the Westgate Super Contest, they will all conclude on that final week of the regular season. And then we will run one more episode on Friday, January 10th, as kind of a wrap up. You know, maybe we'll even get a guest on, you know, one of these winners or something. Hopefully it's us. We've got one more chance remaining. We're down to just the final 3-week mini contest in the Westgate Super Contest. That's about all we have left. We were looking okay. Heading into last week, we could have made some moves for like the final 6-week contest, the final 9-week contest, and we posted a 1-4. And
Nice.
So basically all is done there, but we do have one more contest possibly, and that is this final 3-week mini in the Westgate Super Contest. Probably have to go in 3 weeks, probably have to go 12-3, Craig, to have a chance to cash, meaning 3 straight 4-1s or some sort of combination to get you to 12-3 at the end of the regular season. And that could possibly put you in the money.
Yeah. No, look, it's been an interesting year, I think, for a lot of people. I think the one thing that has been trendy this year is that the bigger point spreads, the favorites have won, which is not normal. But it seems like anytime a line is above 10, you gravitate toward the dog, but it seems like the favorites are winning. Now, the mid-range numbers, 5, 6, 7, et cetera, those are going 50-50. But, Brady, we saw that again last week where, the Giants just got smoked. They just got blown out. It wasn't even close. And we're going to get these numbers coming up here at the end of the season. But that's been the reality of the contest this year, is that trying to be sharp and be smart has really not worked out. There's a lot of chalky plays have come in.
You're exactly right. The sports books have been beaten up by the general public. I know here in Nevada, I think October was a losing month for just about every sports book in town in the NFL. And the public was getting fat and happy. The sharps, the smart money wasn't necessarily winning a lot of plays in general over the course of, the volume. It was the public or the recreational plays, like you say, favorites were coming through. I mean, these sports books typically get killed when you have favorites and the over come through. And, they make their hay when a surprise underdog wins outright. And there just hasn't been a lot of that. And that's also been reflected in Circus Survivor the last handful of weeks. The carnage has been minimal because these big favorites, to your point, Craig, have been winning, not only winning outright, but also covering the spreads. There just has not been that surprise underdog upset winning outright since seemingly the beginning of the season, when for the first 6 or 8 weeks, the rate of elimination in Circus Survivor was unprecedented. You remember it. We went from 14,000 contestants in this contest to a few hundred and half the season was over. Now it's balanced out, and it's really been the favorites in control here for what seems like a couple of months. You just feel like that crazy week is coming. I thought it would be last week. Maybe it'll be this week.
Yeah, no, it just hasn't been the first few weeks of the season, yes, but since then, a lot of chalk. A game we talked about last week, too, we can even talk about it here, was that line did look a little fishy with Philly being 5.5-point favorites over Pittsburgh. It was like, wait a second, it seems off. I got to tell you, as somebody maybe who backed Pittsburgh last week, I think Brady got to double down again. I know you got to do it. It's very painful after watching that game last week without Pickens. It seems like their offense doesn't go. But this series between Baltimore and Pittsburgh, how many times does this come down to the last play of the game? I am stunned that this line keeps climbing with the Ravens now up to 6.5-point favorites.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised as well. I made the number 3.5. When I crunch all my numbers, I make Baltimore 4.5. So 6.5 seems elevated to me. And I thought for a minute that the books were kind of holding out to see if TJ Watt and George Pickens would play. And if they were both announced to be in the lineup, then maybe this would come back down to 4.5 or 5. Well, Watt is going to be in, but apparently Pickens is not. and it really didn't move a tick. It's kind of bounced between 6.5 and 6 all week long. But you're right, Craig. I mean, historically, this rivalry between Baltimore and Pittsburgh is almost never decided by more than 7 points. It's always less than a touchdown, the final result here. And within that, oftentimes less than a field goal is what this comes down to. And even more so, again, on top of that, it's almost always the underdog that covers this game. So, yeah, I mean, if you're just playing history, you have to play Pittsburgh here. It looks like Watt will play. So you've got that going for you if you're a Pittsburgh backer. No Pickens is tough, but now it'll be the third straight week. So I think there's a chance that they've got some things figured out, how they operate without him. I could still only play Pittsburgh here.
Yeah, no, it seems like that to me. So let's just go quick to the other biggest line. I don't want to give away the show if you guys are going to have an opinion on this one. I think one of the biggest lines of the season, again, has occurred this week, not as big as last week, with Buffalo being 14-point favorites over New England. So if this trend continues, then the Bills win by 40, right? Because no team has covered a spread like this all year.
You know, you just wonder when the other shoe's going to drop for Buffalo. They've been scoring so many points the last 3 or 4 weeks, right? I think they're averaging like 30 points. I don't know how long the run is, but it's pretty lengthy. Are they going to do it again? You would think they'd be able to put up 30 against the Patriots for sure. You just got to think they're going to exhale at some point for a minute. I tell you, the other one, the Packers, I'd want to lay it there, Craig. There's a history. When we get past week 10, the weather obviously changes in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And dome teams or warm weather teams going to Lambeau do not have a whole lot of success against the number this time of year. Do I want to lay 14? It's tough, but I couldn't bet the Saints here.
No, and you couldn't name their quarterback or their running back.
No, I can't do that either.
It's a guess. All right, Brady, happy holidays to you, and we'll catch up again soon. Thanks for coming on.
You bet. Thank you, Craig.
All right, we'll wrap it up next.
There's a better chance the Raiders might stumble into a win because of who they're playing over the next few weeks than the Giants, who I don't think will win.
I don't believe for 1 minute that they want to win a game. I do not believe that the New York Football Giants want to win a game at all because it will cost them dearly. In fact, they will continue to suck for years to come if they screw this up.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun. I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Kannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire. Ahead of the big holidays coming up next week, we will wrap up the show with some discussion on a episode of Jeopardy that involves sports, also a sort of giveaway at an NBA game, and is it possible to get advice from an NFL player's wife without looking bad? Whew, it's time now for some last licks. All right, very funny moment happened in the media this week. Kendrick Bourne is a wide receiver on the New England Patriots. His wife is apparently some form of interior decorator, design, clothing, does all of these really cool things. And Bourne mentioned this to the media, and one of the media members, I guess, sought out some advice, didn't really think how to ask the question correctly. We thought we would let you hear how he ended up doing that.
So my wife is actually my stylist. Shout out to my wife. She's going to love this. She puts it all together for me. So she's doing good. I don't know what she got ready for me, but we'll see.
So every outfit, she's the one who's...
Yeah, she's behind it all. She's behind it all.
Can you give her... Can I get a number? In the respectful way for the strictly wardrobe part of life?
Hold on. What you mean? Hold on. What is he asking? What are you asking?
He wants her business card.
Oh, business card. Her Instagram's Vanessa Bourne. Go check her out. She'll love. Yeah, I didn't know what Dan was saying, but no, she'll love that though. She'll love that. She does a good job though. She makes me look like a professional.
You could honestly, I've been in those situations before as a reporter interviewing somebody. You could honestly hear as the reporter is speaking, regrets the question that he's asking. How as he's asking, almost like it was in slow motion. Fun. Okay, at a Charlotte Hornets game, they did a nice little promotion where they gave away a prize, but not really. They did a contest. You know how they do those contests where they put a fan on the screen and they ask a question and then you have the ability to win a prize? Well, they sort of did the okie doke with a fan saying, a little fan, by the way, young fan, saying that he would win a PlayStation if he got the question correct, but it really wasn't a PlayStation that they were giving away. So the fan essentially was holding the PlayStation after they answered the question correctly. Then they took the PlayStation back. Oh my gosh, what a horrible look. Now, the Charlotte Hornets have obviously apologized for this. There was some sort of mistake, not understanding what the real prize was. Needless to say, they're going to make it right. Kid's going to get his PlayStation, of course. But sometimes got to think these things through before you actually go in the stands and do these. Now, something that you don't have to think through is sports questions on Jeopardy. And we end the show with a pretty easy question that was asked on Jeopardy yesterday. Honestly, for our producer Frank, a lot easier than some others. But here's the question for Jeopardy. It's the only team to play in the Super Bowl before Neil Armstrong's moonwalk that has not been to the big game since. Unfortunately, our edition of Jeopardy on the show is just destroyed because we just gave it away, Frank. It says Jets right there on our screen. So, well, I mean, come on, guys. You gotta, I mean, at least we'll give our viewers an opportunity to try and answer the question, too. We just literally gave it away. Yes, it's the Jets. Yes, Joe Namath was the quarterback, right? We're going to win, and I guarantee it. Remember that? Joe Namath, great guy, by the way. Chance to meet him many, many times. Either way, that was a question on Jeopardy yesterday, and I thought what I was going to do was ask the question to all of you watching, and then you would hypothetically think. Maybe we would play the music for Jeopardy, and then you would answer whatever you would, and then the answer would be the Jets. So, yes, it is a tough time being a Jets fan, and even watching that Aaron Rodgers documentary, too, it is a tougher time being a Jets fan as well. All right, that'll do it for our show today. Thanks to Bill Bender from Sporting News. In addition, thanks to Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report. Thanks for checking us out all week long as we got plenty of programming coming up. And if you want to learn more about SportsGrid and all of our college football programming this weekend and NFL programming as well, just download the SportsGrid app. It's available on iOS and Android. Take out your phone and scan this QR code that you see right there. It is the SportsGrid app. Also, some great golf analysis and some really, I think, great ways to view the sport differently. We have some exciting news coming your way in 2025 for that. You want to download the app now. Again, completely free. We are not asking for anything. It's the holiday season. We got to give free things away. So make sure you check out the SportsGrid app. Updated odds tonight in the college football playoff. Notre Dame still 7.5-point favorites. They'll take on Indiana tonight in South Bend. Weather expected to be in the 20s and snowing for the first round of the college football playoff First time ever, 12 teams, Notre Dame, Indiana. You can catch it tonight on In-Game Live and In-Game Live primetime. All right, that'll do it for our week of shows. I will see you back here tomorrow morning for Fantasy Sports Today, or I will see you Monday for our next edition of NewsWire. That's every single Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, exclusively here on SportsGrid. Happy holidays to all of you watching. I will see you back here tomorrow or Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone.